so that one does not know what one says or does. Avoiding these 4 impure actions leaves nothing but right action, wholesome action. Again, this is not only a negative concept. Describing one who practices right physical action, the Buddha said, "Laying aside the rod and sword, he is careful to harm none, full of kindness, seeking the good of all living creatures. Free of stealth, he himself lives like a pure being." The precepts. For ordinary people involved in worldly life, the way to implement right speech and right action is to practice the 5 precepts, which are to abstain from killing any living creature, to abstain from stealing, to abstain from sexual misconduct, to abstain from false speech, to abstain from intoxicants. These 5 precepts are the essential minimum needed for moral conduct. They must be followed by anyone who wishes to practice Dhamma. At times during life, however, the opportunity may come to lay aside worldly affairs temporarily, perhaps for a few days, perhaps just for one day, in order to purify the mind, to work toward liberation. Such a period is a time for serious practice of Dhamma, and therefore one's conduct must be more careful than in ordinary life. It is important, then, to avoid actions that may distract from or interfere with the work of self-purification. Therefore, at such time, one follows 8 precepts. These include the basic 5 precepts with one modification. Instead of abstaining from sexual misconduct, one abstains from all sexual activities. In addition, one undertakes to abstain from untimely eating, that is, from eating after noon, to abstain from all sensual entertainment and bodily decoration, and to abstain from using luxurious beds. The requirement of celibacy and the additional precepts foster the calmness and alertness that are necessary for the work of introspection, and they help to free the mind from all external disturbance. The 8 precepts need to be followed only during the time given to intensive practice of Dhamma. When that time is over, a lay person may revert to the 5 precepts as guidelines for moral conduct. Finally, there are the 10 precepts for those who have adopted the homeless life of a recluse, a mendicant monk or nun. These 10 precepts include the first 8, with the 7th precept divided into 2, and one further precept, to abstain from accepting money. Recluses must support themselves solely by the charity they receive, so that they are free to devote themselves fully to the work of purifying their minds for their own benefit and for the benefit of all. The precepts, whether 5, 8, or 10, are not empty formulas dictated by tradition. They are literally steps to implement the training, very practical means to ensure that one's speech and actions harm neither oneself nor others. Right livelihood. Each person must have a proper way of supporting himself or herself. There are 2 criteria for right livelihood. First, it should not be necessary to break the 5 precepts in one's work, since doing so obviously causes harm to others. But further, one should not do anything that encourages other people to break the precepts, since this will also cause harm. Neither directly nor indirectly should our means of livelihood involve injury to other beings. Thus, any livelihood that requires killing, whether of human beings or of animals, is clearly not right livelihood. Even if the killing is done by others and one simply deals in the parts of slaughtered animals, their skins, flesh, bones, and so on, still this is not right livelihood, because one is depending on the wrong actions of others. Selling liquor or other drugs may be very profitable, but even if one abstains from them oneself, the act of selling encourages others to use intoxicants and thereby to harm themselves. Operating a gambling casino may be very lucrative, but all who come there to gamble cause themselves harm. Selling poisons or weapons, arms, ammunition, bombs, missiles, is good business, but it injures the peace and harmony of multitudes. None of these is right livelihood. Even though a type of work may not actually harm others, if it is performed with the intention that others should be harmed, it is not right livelihood. The doctor who hopes for an epidemic, the trader who hopes for a famine, are not practicing right livelihood. Each human being is a member of society. We meet our obligations to society by the work we do, serving our fellows in different ways. In return for this, we receive our livelihood. Even a monk, a recluse, has his proper work by which he earns the alms he receives, the work of purifying his mind for the good and the benefit of all. If he starts exploiting others by deceiving people, performing feats of magic or falsely claiming spiritual attainments, then he is not practicing right livelihood. Whatever remuneration we are given in return for our work is to be used for the support of ourselves and our dependents. If there is any excess, at least a portion of it should be returned to society, given to be used for the good of others. If the intention is to play a useful role in society in order to support oneself and to help others, then the work one does is right livelihood. Right speech, right action, and right livelihood should be practiced because they make sense for oneself and for others. A course in Vipassana meditation offers the opportunity to apply all these aspects of Sila. This is a period set aside for the intensive practice of Dhamma, and therefore the 8 precepts are followed by all participants. However, one relaxation is allowed for those joining a course for the first time or for those with medical problems. They are permitted to have a light meal in the evening. For this reason, such people formally undertake only the 5 precepts, although in all other respects they actually observe the 8 precepts. In addition to the precepts, all participants must take a vow of silence until the last full day of the course. They may speak with the teacher or the course management, but not with other meditators. In this way, all distractions are kept to the minimum. People are able to live and work in close quarters without disturbing each other. In this calm, quiet, and peaceful atmosphere, it is possible to perform the delicate task of introspection. In return for performing their work of introspection, meditators receive food and shelter, the cost of which has been donated by others. In this way, during a course, they live more or less like true recluses, subsisting on the charity of others. By performing their work to the best of their ability, for their own good and the good of others, the meditators practice right livelihood while participating in a Vipassana course. The practice of Sila is an integral part of the path of Dhamma. Without it, there can be no progress on the path, because the mind will remain too agitated to investigate the reality within. There are those who teach that spiritual development is possible without Sila. Whatever they may be doing, such people are not following the teaching of the Buddha. Without practicing Sila, it may be possible to experience various ecstatic states, but it is a mistake to regard these as spiritual attainments. Certainly, without Sila, one can never liberate the mind from suffering and experience ultimate truth.